Hello, I'm Brandon Cologne, and this is my game design profile presentation on The Graveyard. The Graveyard is a walking simulator that is set to immerse the player in the life of a decrepit old woman who we have no prior knowledge about, and her only objective is to go towards the end of the graveyard, sit on the bench, and reflect on all of those that she had lost in her long life. The mechanics of the graveyard. As a walking simulator, you would expect to move forward, backward, and side to side. However, she is noticeably slower when she moves backwards. You can only travel towards the bench in front of the chapel in order to progress the story. You cannot move down any of the different avenues. You cannot go in any other direction other than straight when it comes to the objective. She has no ability to run due to her old age. She can only do a light hobble. The gameplay of the graveyard. The player is able to move forward in any direction using the WASD keys. She does move noticeably slower once you start directing her to a different direction other than straight. The objective of the game is to reach the end of the graveyard so that you could sit on the bench where she is able to reflect and be serenaded. This is meant to be a 10-minute long game. Once the objective has been completed, she will stand from her bench and she will begin to start traveling towards the end of the graveyard where she entered. The game's objective is definitely to immerse the player in showing us that as we age, we forget that we're not going to be young forever. That we also will reach this age one day, if God's willing. And it gives us the sense of urgency to really experience life and to not hold in any regrets and to live life to the fullest, because one day we will be just like her. Old, gray, and frail. The experience of the graveyard is, granted, being a artistic walking simulator, I agree that it is definitely not going to appeal to the average player. From my own experience, I've felt a lot of impatience due to her slow movement. It was definitely frustrating. But it also gave me clarity knowing that a developer took time to make a game to express a story within this small time frame. It gives you a different sense of reflection and makes you think about how much time do we really have here. And it can give the player a lot more appreciation for life if you look a little deeper into it from this artistic perspective. This right here is the flow chart of the graveyard. It's pretty simple. You start the game, you walk through the graveyard, you sit on the bench, you watch the old woman be serenaded. You walk back towards the gate, and the game is over. Developer talks and interviews for the graveyard. The graveyard was developed by a Belgian indie company by the name of Tale of Tales. They worked hard to build an experimental game that is brief, intriguing, and immersive. They would even compare it in different interviews to an interactive painting. There hasn't been any video interviews, anything I could find on YouTube or anything of that sort, but I did find these two sources where the developers were definitely interviewed, and they had spoken in detail that they were definitely trying to immerse the player in an interactive painting more than a game, that they couldn't really call it a game. But in itself, I do kind of view that as kind of interesting. It really is an experimental take on switching up the narrative of instead of hand holding, you're able to really immerse yourself and kind of pick up on certain things throughout the brief period that we're playing the game. That was my profile presentation, and thank you all for watching.